I love this how the podcast starts with a close up of Nate's hat. It's a nice hat.
We're one happy person and two grumpy people.
I'm not grumpy.
Oh,
I'm not even upset about it.
How was your week, fellas?
I think I've come off of Bridge Watch. I've had several people assigned to all the major bridges in the surrounding Orlando area.
Have they all been fitted with those special kind of bus shelter things over the top?
Actually, there's a big bridge in Tampa called the Skyway Bridge. You'll have to look it up. And they've added all those kind of things because they just want to prevent people from just jumping straight off.
Jumping off with their team, jumping off with their Team USA jerseys on.
Brutal. Yeah,
I'm not that upset. I mean, I should be maybe more upset, but I mean, even with my sports teams and stuff like this, like I'm sad for about 5 minutes and then I just get over it pretty quick. I don't look at this as that much difference than cheering for my favorite sports teams. I mean, it's same with the Olympics. I mean, should I care more? Maybe, but I'm not going to London every single year or Vegas every single year for, to watch the USA players win. I'm there to have a good time and network with friends and different companies. And that's, that's kind of what I'm there for, is I'm there to have a good time and to have a fun party atmosphere, not to watch us win. So it's, I get so many messages from
I've got a question for you then.
Sure.
The other sports teams that you support, does any of the players in those teams give up after they miss one ball?
Well, I know what would happen to them if they did. They wouldn't be on the bus ride home. They wouldn't be on the plane home. Their coaches would tell them to take this one out. We'll pick you up next year when we're back. Are you trying to insinuate something, Jim? I would like to hear.
Just a question. I just wanted to hear your views.
Well, I would like to hear you elaborate a little bit. Could you do that for me? Did you see something that you would like to share with with the group here?
Let's just say that it's an uphill battle for USA anyway, and they did all right last year. 11-7 wasn't such a bad thing. They get Federer in the team.
11-8.
You would imagine that's an improvement to the team. But they've got three top guys, three top players in their team, and they've got two that are a level below. If you're just talking Fargo, you've got 3 800-plussers, and you've got a couple that are in the 760 to the 780. They're relying on their three top guys, to be there and to be invested in the match from the start right to the finish. And they weren't. Shane misses 2 balls in the team match, 2 sitters basically that he should never ever miss. But it can happen, He's out there first. The pressure's on. The crowd are at the loudest because the Mosconi Cup's just started, so they're right into it. Everybody's involved, and it just seemed to me from there on, after those 2 missed balls, that he just wasn't invested in the match anymore, and I have to be careful how much I say here. From a guy like Shane, you expect him to be in the locker room saying, I want this match. I want to play this. I want to put me up, coach. Get me in there. I'm Captain America. I'm ready. I'm here for the team. I believe in this team. This is, everything that he says in the press conference beforehand, you expect that to be in the locker room as well. And not, I don't want to play these matches. I don't want to play that one. I don't want to play in this position. I don't want to, no, don't put me out first. Don't put me. That's not what you need from one of your top guys. You need your top guys all to be standing up and saying, no, give it to me, coach. I'll do it. I'll get the momentum back. I'll be there. Put me out on day 2 3 times,
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Jim. Do you think that would fly on Europe's team? Do you think if let's say Jason walked up to Ralph and said, I'm not feeling this match. Put in someone else. I don't want to play it. What do you think would happen?
The question I'd be asking is why? Is it because what just happened? Because if it's because of what just happened, then get over it, because we need everybody here. I want you out there again, and I want you to play a good match and forget about that, because I need you for the rest of the tournament. If it's because you've just given up, then okay. The problem that Team USA have Now, I mean, I'm sure we're going to go and we'll talk about the captains later on, I'm sure. We don't know whether or not it'll be JJ again next year. You know, he's had 4 years now where he's lost all 4. We don't know. It could go either way. I mean, I don't know who else it would be, but we'll talk about that later on, I'm sure. But whoever the captain is next year, if it's me,
it's not going to be you.
No. If I'm in those shoes, my number one priority is how do I get Shane involved in this? How do I get Shane invested for the full 4 days? Because it looks like from the outside looking in, and from some stuff I've heard from the inside, there's a point in the match where you're inclined to think we can't win this anymore. Shane reaches that point a lot quicker than the rest of his team at the moment, and he has done in the last few years. It's quite obvious in his body language. I think, you know, you can't have that. You can't have your top guy. You can't. He has to be the one. He has to be pulling on the rest. You know, that's what you would expect from him. Not that somebody like Tyler is having to pull on him. You know.
So who do you think the bigger problem is then? From what you're saying, who do you think the bigger problem is, JJ or Shane? If you had to cut one of them,
well, Shane because he's got to go out there. Well, Shane because he's got to go out there and point the balls. But you can't do anything about it because Shane is never not going to be on the top 3 ranking. So you can't. He's not. No captain is going to have the option of leaving Shane out of the team. Shane will only not be in the team if he says one year, you know what, guys, try it without me, because he's always going to be top 3. How do you get 3 players above him in the ranking? It's not going to happen. It's just simply not going to happen. So he's always going to be in the team. So you have to, as a captain, you have to work with it and you have to do something about it. And I'm not sure who it is. Johan is a guy who did get through to him and would be able to get him playing because Johan can get everybody playing, you know?
So then that begs the question, why are we getting rid of Shane when there is a coach out there that has been able to get that? Isn't that a coaching thing?
I didn't say get rid of Shane. I said somebody has to be able to get him involved in the match, to get him as a leader within that team, to get him invested in going for the full 4 days.
All right, so here's the new Jim. Jim, you're the new Emily. Ready? You have to fix Team USA. You get to make one move. Is it to get rid of Shane or is it to get rid of JJ?
But you can't get rid of Shane.
Dave,
how do you get rid of Shane? If he qualifies in the top 3s in the team.
I mean, you could put pressure on him, saying like, we can tell that you're giving up. We've talked to enough people that you're giving up. You're no. If you're just going to go out there and give up on stage, we're not going to allow you in there. And if you want to fight it, we will, as Matchroom, decide that we're going to sell you out for giving up on your team.
But you're doing what everybody on Facebook is doing. You're trying This is what's happened on Facebook and social media at the moment. People want to change the rules and move the goalposts in order to give USA a better chance. That's not how it works. If you want to have a better chance, you work harder, you get better, and the things that you're not doing right, you do better. And one of the things that they're not doing right is they're not staying invested in the match. They're giving up too easily. And it's difficult. I know when you've been getting battered every single year, you get to a point where you think, well, this one we've lost as well. How do we get back from here? It's very difficult mentally. But it shouldn't be the guy who is seen as your greatest player ever who's doing that. If he gives up, the rest of the team, it's very difficult for them not to give up.
We've definitely seen him give up visually at least the last 3 years that I've seen.
Exactly. So that has to be fixed. It's not that he has to be removed.
Well, okay, so then it's
this is for me, the next coach that comes in, or if it's Germany again, this would be my priority. How do I get Shane invested for the 4 full days? How do I get him to feel like he's the man and he needs to be here? And I don't know. I don't know who the guy is that does that.
Well, we will definitely talk about coaching going forward. I mean, do we want to jump right into this conversation? I guess we can recap it, but I mean, who doesn't know what happened really? I mean, we can talk about specific matches later on, maybe. I mean, so Jim, as the European who's watching Europe just basically, I shouldn't say beat us down, because honestly, last year was a lot more competitive than I even think the score was. And then the year before that, that was the COVID year where Jeremy had to jump in at the last second. I believe that was 11-6. Am I right in thinking that, Ray?
Be about that,
Jim? Yeah. Something like that.
11-6, yeah.
What was that?
The COVID year that JJ actually jumped in and played, was that 11?
No, that wasn't the COVID. That wasn't the COVID year. That was just
Well, that was yes.
COVID.
It wasn't the COVID. It was the year that Earl had COVID. Sorry. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Let's talk about this and let's just jump in there. Do we think that Shane, or do we think that JJ has what it takes to get Shane into that mind space? Ray, I mean, you've been pretty quiet. Let's see what you think.
If I could have the floor just for a little bit, because I think Telfer had the floor for a little while. He brings up some important points.
Go ahead.
I think what we have are facts, right? We have information. We know that the only constant that we've seen in the last 4 years with the current captaincy is loss, right? So we don't have any evidence that JJ has been able to turn the ship. And we do have evidence that the 3 years prior, we had a competitive cup, and the last captain to run the ship and win 2 out of 3 and 2 in a row was Johan. So for whatever that's worth, we know that Johan has a pedigree of winning and has established himself with the credentials to do the job. So in the short term, as we look at qualifications for captaincy, I don't know of any other sport where a coach doesn't produce and doesn't, keeps his job indefinitely. That's just the reality of team sports, especially one where we have seen the impact of really top tier, like qualified coaching on raising the bar and raising the standard and creating a standard for teams in match play and getting more out of the team than there is on paper. I'm a big Miami Heat fan. Eric Spoelstra
Spoelstra's the best.
Is like, he's a wizard in the NBA. That program, that developmental program in Miami is world-class. And they last season took a roster of undrafted players to the NBA Finals. And unfortunately, they had a bunch of key injuries that kept them from delivering their best in the finals. But they beat a Celtics team that everybody thought was supposed to run over them. They beat the Bucks first round as the 8th seed. They just walked over the Eastern Conference because that program knows how to get synergy together and build a team that the sum of its parts are greater than the individuals, right? And that's really what we're talking about. Mosconi Cup is so unique because it's a team environment. So there are certain things that just, for me, are just non-starters when it comes to team play. And if you're trying to address those things at the Mosconi Cup, then it's too late. And I've said this before on the podcast, that if you have concerns about certain players or certain behaviors, you have to address those before you go to battle. Because if you're trying to address them while you're in battle, it's too late. And you've mismanaged your job as the leader. Whoever is the leader of that team, I'm still not sure who was the leader for that team, because when Europe is going to do what they do, and they're going to put pressure on you, and then the crowd is going to stack pressure on you, and then eventually you're going to hit a threshold where the European player is going to feel like you're not going to put heat on them, and then they're going to get comfortable, and then it's too late, and then you've allowed the snowball to get too big. And now you're just trying to outrun the avalanche, right? That's exactly what happened this cup. There was not a moment where Team USA put any pressure on Team Europe, and they were just freewheeling and enjoying themselves and laughing and dancing. So for me, there's a few things that I think this is a two-part problem. One, 5 days before a tournament this big is nowhere near enough time to put a team together and call them a team. You don't just put 5 individuals together and just say, this is a team 5 days before an event and expect to have any kind of unity or synergy or trust. Because when you're out there, you have to trust the person that's to your left and to your right, and know that to Jim's point, they're 100% committed, right? They're not going to drop the ball. If you sag a little bit, they'll pick you up. If you're feeling the heat, they'll walk you through that. You walk through that together as brothers in arms, and you either win or lose together. That's got to be a standard. I've said it in so many words in the past that if I ever make the Mosconi Cup, and I'm in a situation where a person to my left or my right starts to show sign of quitting, I will have to drag them into the back room and give them an option. Either they change their attitude or we have to fight. And that's the end of the conversation. So nobody, to my estimation, watching the team, nobody is willing to have these accountability discussions and have these confrontations. This to me points to a serious lack, a negligent level lack of leadership. Okay. Good leadership is accountability. And at the team level, when somebody's not doing their job or not sticking up to their end of the bargain, an alpha has to come out of that group and say, this will not be tolerated and we have to fight. Like, that's just how it is. Amongst men, that's how we communicate. It speaks to a primal understanding of who we are, and we get a reality check like, oh, okay, this is not just about me. So I can either disengage and quit altogether, or I can come in line. It doesn't have to be the best player. It doesn't have to be the person with the most tenure. You shouldn't have to rely on somebody from a foreign country who has proven that they can win to tell you these things to get people in line. So if you're not going to be in line, don't show up. If it's about money, here's my money. Take my money, leave. I'd rather have somebody who's going to commit themselves to the process and walk all the way through, because in team sports, that's how you win. The challenge we face as Americans with the Europeans is that they've been given the formula so much and they've been in practice so much that now they have a routine. They've habitualized this process. And now, not only that, they had a team coming back from last year who knew how to work with each other enough that they knew what worked, and they knew how to check their egos. They knew how to pump each other up. They knew what to say, when to say, what not to say. For each player, it was just status as normal, and that's fun.
If I could jump in really quick, Ray, because like I'm gonna let you continue. But the thing that's not talked about enough, I think, and I don't know if this is as well known as people think it is in the US. Team USA does not like each other. These people are not hanging out. I mean, Shane and Sky, absolutely. They Shane Wolford, I should say. But Team USA is not friends. They're not hanging out on the weekends. They're not traveling together across the country. They are nothing but like singles that are trying to come together as a team. The Europeans are genuinely friends. I mean, we had an incident on one of our VIP days, and I won't throw anybody under the bus for this, but basically there was some stuff said between some of the players, and Josh and Albin just go on and start talking in German. Why? Because that's what they do. I mean, they're friends. And David and FSR, best friends.
Yeah,
Albin and Josh, really good friends. I mean, Jason and Josh, really good friends.
There's a lot to be said for that, right? Because they have a mutual cultural understanding amongst each other. My point is that if that's the case for Team USA, we have more individuals, then a coach, his job is to establish a standard, right? You're saying we have all these individuals that have their own kind of way of doing things. As a team, this is the standard. These are the pillars that we're going to build our operandi around. This is how we're going to be structured. And this is what each of you have to commit to. Otherwise, you can't play on Team USA. So that's the job of the coach. And however long it takes to mold the individual psyches and get them to shift, find the trigger points for each individual person. Johan has mentioned this in the past, that he'll go and spend a week with each individual player leading up to the event to make sure that they're mentally and technically ready to go. And so that gives the coach insight to know where to pull these lever points, these trigger points, these things, know which players to let go in certain areas, which players you have to rein in certain areas. That's all captaincy. That's all coaching. Somebody like Phil Jackson, imagine running the Bulls, right? Having people like Dennis Rodman, who I got to go to Vegas and go wrestle and do all this other stuff. Like, he let
Michael
him.
Jordan went there and dragged him out of Las Vegas.
Out of there and said, "Hey, it's time to get back to work," because they know.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that.
But to Rodman's credit, he showed up and he executed when it mattered. And that's really what we're talking about, because all this other stuff doesn't matter if you don't come to the table and execute when it's your time. So as far as getting to the table and executing, it was a failure, obviously, this year. I have ideas about how that can be changed, what needs to be put in place overall on the US side structurally throughout the year, which I think is necessary to help build a team-like culture that is not necessarily present in the upbringing in the United States. We're still kind of built on and raised and have been raised by ideas that are outdated when it comes to gambling and it comes to the hustle culture. It used to be like, I can come up now and make a winning and make earnings off of keeping my opponent in the dark, right? As far as knowledge and skill but the landscape of pool is completely changed since then. And now we have a global platform where we get to put forth ourselves as an offering to show what we have, and we're getting embarrassed. And so to me, I get royally pissed off every time I get to this table, knowing that we're not doing what we need to do to shift the culture and reshape the landscape. And we're offering ourselves up to be laughed at by the global pool community. To me, I'm insulted every time that I have to look up online and see Kachi or see Al-Kaidi or see whoever making flippant jokes on their stories or on their Facebook posts about how they're dead stealing and USA needs games on the wire, or even Emily joking about how the Team USA is getting 2-1 because they pushed the golden buzzer. I'm sorry, I'm dead on tilt, livid, having to read that stuff. And other people are just joking about it, like, oh, we're getting trounced or whatever. It's not funny. Guys should be embarrassed to put up this as a product, every last one of them. And until somebody can stand up in each of their faces and say, you didn't do the job, okay, and you did not do good enough, and we need to be better, and everybody believes that, then you don't get progress. Now, during the Mosconi Cup, I think there were flagrant things that I think are just out of this world, non-starters, not possible that a Mosconi Cup happens and you don't have certain things happen. Okay. I think it's impossible to me that you can lose the Mosconi Cup and not put up your best Scotch doubles
pairing. That's the dumbest
thing. To
me,
I want to run through.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
I want to run through a brick wall. The fact that I can look at the end of day 4 and see my best Scotch doubles pairing not get a chance to play and put a point on the board. They're World Cup finalists twice, semifinalists once, and they've never lost a match together in the Mosconi Cup. How the hell do you not put this team up to play day 1? This is asinine.
At worst, the first one on day 2. At worst.
I'm sorry. I love everybody involved. I'm hot. Okay. This is asinine. This is absolutely egregious captaincy.
It's not just that. End of day 2, you're 7-1 down. And Skylar, the guy that everyone says is the best performer.
He didn't play a single match on day 2.
He didn't play a single match on day 2. He played one singles match on day 1, and that's all his involvement was to 7-1 behind. That doesn't make sense to me either.
I'm gonna get there. There's no way you don't start day 1 without Shane and Sky. They're critical to your success. They're the best.
Unless they start the first one on day 2, I'm okay with them.
No,
that's it. One of those two.
You can't lose the cup and not play them. You got to play them.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay? You got to play them. Second, Wolford is such, he works his heart out, goes through the scare of potentially not making the team, qualifies to make the team, and he barely gets a look. He doesn't get played until the end of day 3, and then you put him in the worst possible position to make a singles debut in Mosconi Cup history. The worst thing you could ever ask for is to make your singles debut to save the cup and keep the team alive. I'm sorry, that's negligence and egregious captaincy. You just can't do that, okay? And I understand that the decisions made on day 1 shaped day 2, and you had some whatever stuff happening amongst the players that led to the day 2 lineup, whatever. Day 3 happened, and then that's where you put your rookie. It's asinine. Federer is a rookie for Team USA, has never played in front of a crowd. You put him in the worst possible position to make his debut. By the way, go save the cup and play 3 times in a row against who is going to be coming out. Filler played like God. You're going to have to go beat him and then go beat FSR and then go play a doubles match. To me, that's the worst possible position that you could put a rookie in with a team that has no identity. It's unfair to Federer. It's unfair to the rest of the teams. And it doesn't show like synergy and balance. Okay. To me,
can I quickly comment on the Federer 3 times in a row? Won't say who, but I was talking to some people involved. Federer was the only one that stood up and said, "I'll do it."
I understand Federer's going to put himself out there and throw himself on his.
He was the only one that said
he's an honorable guy, and he's trying to prove his point. I think he is doing the noble thing to say, I'll do it because nobody else in the team would. And I totally get that. I'm not saying it's Federer's fault. I'm saying there is no leadership that puts up your top guy and throws him up as an offering, coin flipping him, because that's mishandling the resource. You have a treasure there. You're supposed to protect your athletes and put them in spots to win. That's not putting them in a spot to win. It can only put them in a spot to be a hero or to be slaughtered. No in-betweens. You don't give them a chance to make you points and build confidence. It's asinine. Okay, you just can't do that. The team matchup first, the first thing, which is what we're all lynching this argument about, you put up Shane first. We know that his mental predisposition is to unplug and to not be the leader. Sky has been your leader. You put him up first every single time, forever, into the history of the end of the United States, to the end of the earth. You start with him because he's a guy who's going to have good energy. He's going to stay positive. He's going to be engaged, and it forces the other guys to stay behind him. He's going to be a tone setter, and he's go up there and he's going to play fun. He's going to play loose. He has the most experience playing in that format, right? Then probably you put in Federer to just get it out of the way. Put him up there, let the Euros, oh, you're not American, not born in the, whatever you want to do your stuff, get him in there in a safe spot so he can do his thing. Then maybe you put up Babe Ruth. You know what I mean? You put up Shane as your cleanup guy, right? Or your third hitter. Maybe even you put Tyler in that spot, and then you put Shane, and then you put Wolford. But if you put up Shane third, then you're guaranteeing him probably a second look, and the pressure's a little bit off of him, right? He doesn't have to be the guy to set the tone. He doesn't like that. We know he doesn't like that. We have history proving that that's not who he is. So let's not put him in a spot to where he's just going to pull the plug from the wall, even with his deficiencies mentally in this setting. You got to protect your player. This is not protecting your player. This is putting him in a spot to be vulnerable. Even though he's a 5-time US Open champion and a world champion, all this individual success in the team environment, it's tenuous. It's a house of cards. And it's up to you to figure out the maze to put him in a spot to be successful. Now, of course, if he goes up there and doesn't dog those 2 balls, the team gets peppered up, all this other stuff, that's great. A fourth thing that really bothered me is that I didn't feel like this team had an identity. As soon as the wheels started coming off the rails, who was the leader? Who was in charge?
Tyler was always the leader.
It felt like nothing had substance, and everybody was kind of like deer caught in their headlights, and they're just like, oh, I guess I'll just go do. Like, to me, this speaks to a lack of preparation and a lack of identity. There's no standard that's been set. There's nobody that's willing to go up there and say, this is where we're going to be. This is the line in the sand. We're not crossing this line at all, ever. Backs to the wall. This is where we stop. This is the standard we hold, and this is how we move forward. This is all leadership stuff to me. And to me, there was a just egregious lack of it. Okay. And then I have to sit here and watch Jason doing his little dance and doing all sort of stuff. Europe, to their credit, they played great. I thought there were moments, especially in the first day, where they showed signs of weakness and we had opportunities to put pressure on them, and we didn't. Once those opportunities pass, it's too late, and you've allowed the behemoth to wake up and realize that he's a monster. But the reality is this: in team sports, it doesn't take 5 juggernauts to go beat somebody. It takes 5 guys who act as one. We had 5 individuals acting out there, and there was a fracture. There was not a cohesive unit that went out there. And so somewhere between the time that the team was announced and to the time that the first lag happened, there was a fracture that wasn't healed or wasn't set up or wasn't established because of things that weren't said. And if you're not willing to say those things, but you're willing to go out there and be embarrassed, that you're not willing to lead and bring home a win, which is what we all want. We want a competitive Mosconi Cup. I think that roster is enough to go get a win, even though we got crushed, to me, with Johan leading that team, or even just proper preparation. 2 weeks is not going to do it. You have to be preparing now, a year in advance. You have to be building and working together to get to a point where you're going to be firing on all cylinders when it comes to Mosconi Cup time. But this is something that really bothers me, because I feel like, it's not good for us. It's not good for the Cup. It embarrasses some of our young guys. I felt like we mismanaged our roster. I felt like day one lineup should have been Shane and Sky first. Tyler and Federer is your next most complementary doubles pairing of the last 3 remaining players. They're both trained by Johan. Both have similar mechanics and styles. And then you put up Wolford in the singles in a no-pressure situation.
Am I wrong in saying that Fedor and Tyler never played together?
They did not.
They did. I think they did.
No, they did not. It was.
I don't think they did.
It was Shane and. Anyways, those 2 doubles pairings first day, Shane and Tyler, and then Skyler and who was it? No, it was Federer and Wolford are like your 5th and 8th best doubles pairing to start the Mosconi Cup. That's not good enough. You put up Shane and Sky first. Your next, because it's a doubles day. Honestly, it's a team day and then a doubles day, right? So it's 2 doubles matches in singles. You put up Tyler and you put up Federer together. They're very complementary styles. They'll play uniformly together. They have experience kind of training under the same person, so there's a pedigree there. And then Wolford gets to play singles in a no-pressure situation. Nobody expects him in the world to beat Filler. right? Filler's going to go up there and be a juggernaut. He played unbelievable, but he gets to at least feel like he's plugged into the team. He's here. He gets a chance to add value. And if the balls go his way and he guts Filler, do you know what that does to the psyche for Team Europe? It absolutely crushes them on day one. And now the fans start climbing down their ass.
I don't think that's true at all, because I think Ralph Eckert can keep his team in line.
You could have had a janitor who sells.
How did you know? It could have been a cardboard cutout of Ralph Eckert. They would have done exactly the same.
He was drinking tea the whole tournament. Leave me alone.
He didn't have to do anything. That's the easiest spot anyone's ever had. The guy, I mean,
Johan put up Tyler in that exact same position, and we were down 2-0. And then Tyler went up there and stole a match from Team Europe by beating Niels and absolutely changed the trajectory and momentum of that Mosconi Cup, and we go on to win. But you have to get your rookie involved early to make him feel like he's not being coddled and protected and kept to the side and hidden from these other killers. There's 5 killers over there. Tough. You're going to have to go beat them. Eventually, you're going to. So now if you put him in that position, it's no pressure. And it's not Skylar having to come in and like everything felt like it was exactly backwards to me. All the lineups were overthought, were backwards. We didn't get to see Shane and Sky play at all. To me, that's egregious. You don't win the cup doing that. You need every point that you can get. So go out there and get the point. They haven't been beat yet in Mosconi Cup. Last year, they ended up playing Francisco and David, who were the World Cup champions, and snapped them off. You know what I mean? So this is the strongest team you have. Lead with your hammers and start going out there and clawing away and prevent any like avalanche. You can't be down 4-0 to start. That's just not good enough. Now, I know the players have to go and execute all that other stuff. And if the players say, oh, I want this, I want that, eventually you're going to have to be the captain and say, this is what you're going to go do. This is the spot that we need you in. This is what you're going to go do. So you can't let the players lead the ship and then have 5 different ideas as to where. Otherwise, you could have anybody be captain and be the leader, right? Is that what you're telling me? That it has no value at all? No. But these guys on Team Europe have the luxury of having gone out there and won in the past, and they have a system. They know what works, and they shelf their ego. They just shelf it. They go up there and they say, I'm for him, I'm for there, I support. They do all the things right. Like Francisco knows how to give up authority to David. David goes in there and like they help each other because they've worked out together forever. Filler goes out there. He's got the support of his guys. Albin is super chill. He's got no ego. He doesn't care if he doesn't play at all, or he just goes up there and plays one match. Albin goes and does his job. Jason was the emotional leader for the team. He did his thing. And then Josh was your saw. He was your machine gun. He's going to go out there and shoot everybody down. So, they have their roles. They know what they have to do. They're just going to go out there and do it. Us, it didn't feel like those roles were defined. It looked like, who's going to go up there and win, who's going to go up there and kind of write this. By the time that you're at the cup and you're kind of looking around to see who the leader is, if you don't have that on paper figured out and done, you don't have an identity yet. And that to me comes down to preparation. If you don't have that preparation down, you're just sacrificing yourself to just get embarrassed and humiliated. And to me, that's unacceptable. As an American fan, it's unacceptable to put a team out there and say this is a team. It's not a team. It's not a team.
Well, I
mean, yes, there was mistakes made. I agree with mistakes in the lineup. I agree that the players didn't get that it wasn't a team. But can we just acknowledge the fact that I know you mentioned it as well, the pressure's off, the snowball gets bigger and the behemoth wakes up. I've been to a lot of Mosconi Cups. I think that was my 12th Mosconi Cup. I've watched it throughout all the years before that as well. I saw 2 of the best performances and probably the best performance that I've ever seen at any Mosconi Cup from Shaw and especially Filler.
Jason and Josh are like cheat
I think Filler hit a level that we've never seen at a Mosconi Cup before.
Yeah, Filler really was exceptional.
The racks he was running, I think people just don't understand.
Yeah, there was I think it was him and FSR playing doubles, I believe, where he had that long, kind of slightly off angle shot from the short rail, and he shooting
the cue ball off the rail
and back up, and he looked like the pocket was 10 inches wide.
It was hanging.
It was unbelievable.
I looked at Jim after he hit that, and I'm like, I looked at Jim after he said that.
I've never seen anybody play at that level in a Mosconi.
No, it's unbelievable, really. Special, and he's built for that kind of environment, right? And he's again one of these guys who has supreme confidence, but willing to do whatever for the team. The team trusts him. He trusts the team. There's no. I think I made a comment the other day. He might be the best doubles partner in the world. Really, you could. I mean,
can you imagine how relaxed you must be as his partner?
Well, he
won. I can leave him anywhere.
Didn't he win? Didn't he win the World Cup for Germany
with 2 different partners?
With a league player, like a
guy my level. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just like a generic German league player. Yeah. And I remember a shot where. Yeah, exactly. And you know, a decent player, but I mean, you're not talking about an 800 player, and he has the pick of whoever he wants to play with. But I remember during that tournament, Josh noticed that his partner was a little shaky on a key positional shot in a key match. He told him, just stop the ball. He had a long 6 foot, 7 foot in the tight pocket. He just said, just stop. He goes, are you sure? He goes, yeah. He stops the ball, and Josh just pumps the ball, the 8-ball in, and gets him perfect. And it's just disgusting. You're like, what the hell?
I mean,
so, yeah,
if there's something about Josh and Jason that like feeds them, they love to look across to their opponents and know that it doesn't really matter what they do because their opponents are so discombobulated that even if they make mistakes, it's not going to cost them. They feed off that. I mean, you would look at Josh. I remember catching Josh playing against, I think the singles match against Sky on day 1. He made a shot and then he looked over at Sky and Sky's just like, and Josh just is like, yes, this is awesome. He's just raveling in all of it. He loves demoralizing his opponents.
Josh is a bit sociopathic in that way. He's like,
but it makes him great, man. It makes him great.
I mean, he's a killer. They call him Killer Filler for a reason, right? I mean, he's up there. Like, he really played a great cup. There were some really great kick shots as well. I think Little Chris mentions that safety exchange between him.
And the thing is, as soon as he hit it, he walked away from the table because he knew.
Well, he's plugged in.
He did it, and he's gone right. That's great.
You've had that feeling. You've had that feeling where you're connected to the condition, to the table, and you just know. You know what I mean? And he probably more than anybody has had that feeling of late, and knows how to deliver in big pressure moments. So you know he's going to be
not just that. He knows how to elevate his performance as the pressure elevates.
Oh yeah,
and that's there's very few people in any sport anywhere that can elevate when the pressure gets to its maximum, and that's just insane.
No, Josh played great. I think the only match that he really lost was the match that Shane went out there and looked.
Shane played great. Yeah,
he played perfect. He played a perfect match, and that's the Shane that we kind of hope and expect for to have a chance really to win. And the balls opened up, you know, in his favor, and Shane executed. And I noticed that he put the extension back on day 3. I noticed that. So that was an interesting kind of thing. There were some shot selection things that kind of had me puzzled about in the team rack, how he shot that 9-ball in the first game. I would have never shot that 9-ball rolling ball at distance. I thought that was kind of, for somebody his experience level, it was kind of just like, you can tell his head wasn't.
He did the same thing with the 7-ball.
He played the 7-ball incorrectly as well.
Same exact way.
Yeah.
He did the drag. He dragged the 7-ball, and if you're on that table, if you're just off center when it's not slippy, then your cue ball's going to.
Yeah, exactly. You're
just play short side on the 9-ball into the other corner pocket. I mean,
honestly, he could have stopped the ball, or drew it back a little bit on the 7, just taken a little bit of a cut.
He could have drawn back full table if he really wanted to let his stroke out.
On that 7-ball, he could have, and I'm surprised he didn't. You know? But you know, that just tells me that you're not. It's not a technical error. It's more of like a mental error. Like you're not really locked in, and sometimes it takes somebody a little bit of feel back and forth, take a few licks, and then you kind of boom, you lock in, and you kind of know what the right shots are, and that can happen early on. But I mean that match, Shane played awesome. He played unbelievable, and then you know, so that's a 0.1. I think he won a point with Federer as a doubles partner, which is probably your second strongest doubles pairing, and then Skyler and Federer won a point, the 2 beers point at the end of day 2, I think it was. That's probably your third strongest doubles pairing. So we played 2 of our top 3 doubles pairings, but we didn't play the strongest with Shane and Sky. I think that's a big.
Well, I think our next strongest is definitely going to be Fedor and Tyler, and they didn't play.
Yeah, they did not get a chance to play, which is interesting.
Only 2 of the top 4.
Because there was a live stream of them practicing their doubles in Texas, and it was Tyler and Federer beat Sky and Wolford in a doubles match, and Sky and Wolford were up early, I think 4-1, and then Tyler and Federer came back. So you know they play well together. Like they have very similar styles. I think both Federer and FSR showed a little weakness compared to their normal standards because of equipment change. Both of them changing equipment soon to the tournament. I look, it's me as a player. I'm not doing that to myself before the Mosconi Cup. If I have 10,000 hours of play this year on my given equipment, I don't care what the relational situations are. Going into the cup, I'm playing with what I know, and then
that's why you're never going to get a $70,000 plus deal.
I suppose, but for me, I'm like, hey,
because they're not going to turn that down.
FSR is going to get that deal, and Federer's going to get that deal, no matter what. They just say, hey, look.
Well, they're going to get that deal, assuming that whoever's going to sign them is not going to turn down an opportunity to put all that equipment on display immediately on the biggest stage in pool. They're not going to say, like, yeah, we'll sign, but you're fine for this.
Of FSR missing balls he's never missed all year, and Federer missing positional shots and missing balls with that.
Well, I spoke to Federer afterwards, and he says his cue had nothing to do with any of the balls he missed. I don't agree with that. I don't
agree with that at all. You can say that if you want, but there's like, when you get to performance, there's a level of unconscious understanding. Unconscious competency is where you want to get to, where you just understand and you don't have to think about it, right? And so you can't tell me that he is a better player a week or a month after.
No, I don't agree. He just doesn't feel that it was.
I understand, but
and I said to him, I think you're kidding yourself. I think your equipment had a lot. I think your equipment had a lot to do with that 7 ball that you fell short on.
The errors that
I don't think you hit that thick if you're playing with your other cue.
Yeah, the errors I saw were related to deflection and speed control, which are both gear related, and that's the same thing for FSR. FSR switched to Q-Tech. Q-Tech has more deflection than his Revo. He missed balls that you never see him miss, and he missed them in a way that corresponds to higher deflection, and Federer missed him the other way, a little bit lower deflection. And that's okay, you know what I mean? But all that aside, you still have an opportunity to go up there and be a unit and be a team. And I just did not see that from Team USA. That's the stuff that really bothers me. It really for me is a big red flag, because we've had now a few years of obviously there's been extraneous circumstances that came up for JJ with the whole COVID thing, having to jump in and play, which is unfair to him. A lot of like just goofy stuff. And then the announcement for Federer so close to the cup, and kind of like the goalpost moving as far as ranking, all these kind of goofy things happening. And then, then that's the product you put up. I think, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So
finally this year, everything looked to be on track, and a big improvement and a bonus in getting Federer. And this was supposed to be the year, and this was the worst result of all the years.
Sure.
Right. Which to me, again, this is a better team on paper than it was last year. 1,000%.
This is the best team that we've had on paper since maybe the Justin Bergman years.
So now,
and I still think we're better.
So now we are, 1-to-1, they're all better. They're more experienced, all this other stuff. So now you can reverse engineer this and realize that on paper means really nothing. You know what I mean? All this on paper stuff is talk. You get 5 individuals that don't become a team. You have 5 individuals going to get punched. You really have to become one. And unless you have solid leadership and somebody's going to hold them accountable and shape the paradigms under which we operate as a unit and get the buy-in, then you don't have a team, which is why I think the only person I've seen do that in recent years has been Johan. Outside of those years, it's been dysfunctional. And then, the Europeans have kind of a culture now of that bred, because Johan led for so long, that the players themselves know the formula and know how to generate that within themselves, and they don't have a problem buying in. They really don't. Albin, imagine, would be welcome as like a number 1 player on Team USA. He's okay chilling in the background, going in there, playing his doubles match here, playing a singles match there, supporting the team. Like, he doesn't care. He's got no ego, about playing that role. And then he goes up there and makes great pots. And, so
and the thing what Team Europe has is it's very transparent between them all, and they've all been so honest with each other throughout the years that they know each other. Like Albin says, I don't want to play 2 matches in a row. I prefer not to. If you need me to, I'll do it, but I prefer not to. I like to have my breaks in between. But then you've got Filler and Jason. They'll play all day if they get the chance.
Sure.
Let's stick me out again, coach. Stick me out again. I'll play 3 in a row. I don't care. And Albin, then Albin's like, oh, well, I'm happy to miss out a couple. I'll have a little bit of a break. I'll relax. I'll listen to my music. I'll take my extra half hour to warm up, and I'll make sure I'm ready for my match. And it all sort of works,
And to my point earlier, that basically they're putting themselves in position to be most effective.
Exactly.
Ultimately, what you have to do as let's say a leader. Jason was probably the locker room leader in that environment with, it's a lot of collaboration there because like you said, there's transparency and friendship and trust. So, they're putting each other in the best positions, knowing themselves, right? On the Team USA side, I think we put ourselves in the worst positions, really, from the team match all the way to the end. I don't feel like we put the alignment of the pieces in the best positions to win. And we kind of saw cascading kind of like, now we're going to chase and try and catch up all in one swoop. And it's just not a recipe for.
It was almost like there was no plan for being 4-0 behind.
Right.
It looked like it. And it was like a panic.
You don't want to plan for that.
A panic selection in day 2. Right, we've got Federer. Let's whack him out there 3 times.
There's no way, I think to your point, there was no way that Federer playing 3 times in a row on day 2 to start, which we've never seen ever, by the way. In the format of the Mosconi Cup history, we've never seen 3 players play back to back to back. And then we saw
when the fans' choice was getting made. I think Federer did it one year when he
got
the fans' choice and then he did singles and doubles afterwards. Yeah.
Oh my God! Well,
because that first match is traditionally the fans. No, the second match is traditionally the fans' match.
Yeah,
and it used to be that match 1 was match 5 on day 1.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think it was something like it was either Filler or Shaw. They got fans pick, and then they played a doubles and then a singles. Yeah.
I liked Appleton's post where he talked about kind of how he doesn't like the way the format has shifted into kind of like your top two players are playing the majority of matches, and then that's it.
Big time.
Yeah, I like that.
Wolford played what, 3 matches?
Something like that. Yeah, and it's like, to me, you bust your ass all year trying to get on the team, and then you don't get a shout. And he had moments where he looked like solid. I think Jason said after the tournament was over, he said he looked like their best player at times.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if the tournament goes its full distance, every single player is guaranteed 2 singles and 2 doubles.
Yeah.
Well, so hold on, let me
because if it doesn't go its full distance and you pack your best ones in at the start, and it doesn't go the full distance, then it's your.
Before we move on, though, I really want to
4 and 5 are the guys that just don't play.
Before we move on from like the lineups, I really want to ask 2 questions to you guys, and I'll ask the first one, I guess, to Jim. So the last day, why wouldn't you? So with the last day's order, you put out right away Shane and Josh. Great. The next match, you can theoretically have either of the 2 Scotch doubles, right? Why wouldn't you put Shane and Sky out there?
I don't know if there was a restriction based on Sky playing 3 the day before. I don't know when the window opens up, because there are certain match restrictions in certain spots where, a player who played in match 7, 8, and 9 couldn't play.
That was only for the singles.
Right. Okay. So
for the doubles, it didn't matter.
If that's the case, then
so why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I mean, I really don't know. I don't know. The fact that we go
Europe needs 2 points.
Don't play Shane and Sky is, I mean, I'd rather drink Nate's vomit, honestly, than do that. I mean, it's just asinine to me. It's crazy. It's not even that it's crazy. It's just not acceptable. It really is not. You can't do that. So I would have
an opinion. Jim, do you have an opinion on it?
I mean, once you're down there, you need pretty much all the points anyway. So, I mean,
but you also need momentum. Why wouldn't you try to get as much momentum as you can? Try to put Europe on their back.
You need all your guys at that stage. You need all your guys who are winning points. So,
why not get them comfortable by winning the first?
If you're talking about getting a lead or being just a couple behind kind of thing, but when you need to win every single match anyway.
Yes, but Jim,
doesn't really matter where you stick them up.
Jim, you know damn well that once Europe gets to the hill, your job as the Americans is to keep Europe off the hill for as long as you possibly can.
But even if it's not that match, it's 2 matches further down. So you're not going to be back in the match before it happens.
Yeah.
Even if you leave them to the last one, you're still going to be 9-5 behind. So you're still behind.
But we still have 2 rookies.
Does it really
yes,
matter?
it does, because it has to, because we have two rookies on our team, and both rookies are going to be like, oh crap, I don't want to have to be the one to lose this on my rookie year. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, obviously, in a real sense, of course, we have to win basically out to win the event, but playing that right away to me says, one, you're going out and trying to get the first 2 wins, right? If you can get the first 2 wins, you're not putting Europe on their heels. But what you are doing is saying, all right, we're coming out for a fight on day 4. Let's lock in.
If you haven't played that card, if you haven't played the Shane and Skylar card on day 2 when you're 4-0 behind, then you've left it too late anyway.
Yes, I definitely agree with
that. It's not about playing. Yeah, it's not about whether they play match 13 or match 15. Well, what would it be?
We're definitely on the same page there.
12. It doesn't matter whether it's 12 or 14. It had to be earlier.
The second thing that it does in my mind is it theoretically, if you can go out there and get those wins, what it does is it gives Shane Wolford an opportunity to not have to play with quite as much stress on him as a rookie, to keep USA's hopes and dreams alive. It's not put on him to have to win that match to keep going. Maybe that frees him up to play a little bit better. Maybe it loosens him up and he plays a little bit worse. I don't know. But with those 2 opportunities, I would much rather have him not have the weight of the USA on his back when he's playing that singles match against David.
Historically, the Europeans have put their rookies in a spot in the schedule on the last day to win the Mosconi Cup. That's like a tradition, right? If you need 2 points, then you put your rookie up second on the last day. If you happen to win the first point, then you give that rookie a chance to win. We did the exact opposite. We put our rookie in a chance to lose the cup. And again, I think that's negative. That's very poor management of the schedule.
At the end of the day, Jeremy knows what's going through Shane's head anyway. So he's put Shane out as number 1. He's thinking, well, if he loses that match, I can't have him in my doubles match because the cup's finished in.
You got to put up.
That's the reason why he's not put him out twice.
Yeah, that's
it's all or nothing. And you said don't put him in an all or nothing situation.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I mean that could be. That's a real thing.
If you're picking between who you want to put in those spots between a rookie and between Shane, then you made your decision at the beginning of the cup when you put him to lead the team roster. You understand?
Yeah,
so if that's the case, then go down with your swords. But.
So then my second question is when they did the expanded roster after Shane won his first match, you guys saw that they put out the rest of the roster if it got to that point. Did you see where Shane was playing his singles?
No, where was it? I saw it for like a brief second.
It went in order. So if it gets to the singles, the race to 5 singles, the last day, it goes Sky, Fedor, Tyler, Shane. And then captain's choice.
At SVB last, you're saying?
I believe Shane went. I believe Shane went last. So, it was second to last or last, but it was definitely the top 3, and then it's Shane. I can't remember exactly what it was, and I looked for it online. You can't find it anywhere, so I'm sure it was on the stream. Maybe somebody out there in the chat remembered which order it was.
By that time, you're throwing a Hail Mary. So I mean. I don't think it really would have made any difference whatsoever. You need everybody. You don't. There's no way that they were going to get to the singles.
Well, what happens if they do
every single match before then? So really, it was going to be all or nothing for every single match from then on.
So basically, what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, what you're saying is the Mosconi Cup is done. It doesn't really matter what the list is. Who cares?
No, I'm saying.
No, he's saying.
What I'm saying is the amount of importance on what happened on day 4 is way outweighed by the importance of the mistakes that were made on day 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
That's where the mistakes were made.
I get that, Jim. I get that. I do. I get that.
After that, I mean, it's done. What's the point?
You don't find it interesting that Shane somehow found his way all the way back in that list? You don't find that interesting then, sort of way?
I think. Well, at that point,
how much do I say? I mean.
I think at that point,
how many coaches in the world, if Shane Van Bonen walks up to you and says, "I don't really want to play," how many coaches can get him to play? Let's hypothetically say that Shane Van Bonen has said, "Guys, I've kind of had enough. Hypothetically, obviously, guys, I've kind of had enough. I don't really want to play. Don't put."
Is this hypothetical, Jim?
Hypothetically, don't put me out first because it's going to be filler and I don't really want to play filler. Don't put me there because it's going to be there. Just stick me at the end. And if I'm needed, then it's good. Hypothetically, how many coaches are able to get him to go against that?
There was a great clip I saw with.
Depends how respected you are by your players, I guess.
There was a great clip I saw again recently, just the other day. Coach Krzyzewski talking about his time coaching the U.S. Olympic men's basketball team, and they're on their way, towards kind of qualifying for the Olympics and trying to win a gold medal. And he had Kobe taking these ridiculous shots, shots that were just out to lunch flyers, just not winning basketball shots. And the teammates were like, "Yo, what coach, what is this?" Because Kobe was the man, right? He was at the, towards the tail end of his career, but still the best player in the league. And Krzyzewski says, "I'll take care of it." He sits Kobe down, brings him into a meeting, shows him the footage, and he says, "These are, Laker basketball shots. These aren't in the Olympics trying to win a gold medal shot, and I can't allow you to take them." And Kobe says, "Is that all?" And Krzyzewski goes, "Yep." He goes, "All right, coach, you're right. Those are bad shots. I won't take them." And that was it. Kobe, being the best basketball player of his generation, looked at his coach with humility and remained coachable and teachable and said, "You're right. I'll make a change for the betterment of the team," swallowed his pride, and went out there and played in alignment with what his coach wanted him to do. So if you're in a position where you can't hold your players accountable, then you don't deserve to be there.
Or if you're not prepared.
And if you're a player and you're not prepared to be held accountable by your peers and by your coach, you're not prepared to be there. That's the simple truth. I don't care who you are. If you're not going to be prepared to be a team player, don't show up. Give your spot up to somebody else and we'll be better for it. That's the truth.
You know what? I'll guarantee whoever gives that spot up to. I mean, because you're talking Shane right here. You wouldn't be talking anybody else. I'll say it. I'll say it exactly.
I don't care any breathing human who wants to walk into my room as a team player or say they're going to be a team player and not be a team player doesn't get to play. You're not in my room. Get the fuck out. That's it. I don't care who you are.
So I know good and damn well that Shane would basically say, "Hey, well, let's put it this way. Who wouldn't want to go out there and say, 'Hey, Shane, if you're not going to want to play, how about I give you $15,000 of the $20,000 you're about to get, and I'll take your spot and I'll try.'" You think Shane wouldn't want to do that so he doesn't have to play against some of the players he doesn't want to have to play against?
No, because Shane still wants to go out there for the chance at 40,000, but he's only going to get engaged if they're in the match. As soon as he thinks it slipped away, then he gives up.
Well, that was on game number 2 for him.
That's it. His threshold of where it slipped away is way, way lower than the rest of them. So he gives up way before they do.
And to me,
and then the rest of them feel it, and it becomes negative for everybody.
If we all assume that that's the case, right? That's the chemistry case. Then I equate that as, from a team perspective, a cancer. And so you need to go under surgery or you need to go under chemotherapy, whatever you need to do to fix the cancer at the root.
We need some inside performance coaching.
But this is where coaching is critical. Shane's upside is probably higher than most human beings on earth. Maybe Filler has a higher upside, maybe, but the downside compared to his skill level is so low that it's not worth having in a team environment if that's the risk. I'd rather have somebody who's going to go in there and play a role and add synergy than have somebody who's going to tank the whole ship, because everybody looks, whether Shane likes it or not, he has the most influence in that locker room because
absolutely.
Everybody looks to him as Superman. And if Superman goes out there and doesn't try, then how can you, with any heart or any certainty, go out there and try? You've killed your own team. You're playing for Team Europe. You can't. It's unacceptable. It's not acceptable. We as Americans, players, fans, whoever, shouldn't tolerate it. We should hold our players accountable. We should hold our players and our captains accountable. Because if the captain can't get them to buy in, you're not the captain. Shane is. Yep.
Well, understand? Juan Mata Franco makes a point. Did anyone see where Shane Van Boning stood up from the couch and gestured as if he was fishing and smiling? Now, the video was on Facebook. The music's playing. He's got up and he's done a little bit of dance. He's looked over, I'm pretty sure, to Filler and who was playing Filler and Frankie, I think, and started doing the gesture like, I'm going fishing. Now, he's getting a lot of positive comments on Facebook saying, love the energy, Shane, and yeah, you should have brought that energy to the table, and it's great. For me, that was the biggest disrespectful thing I think I've ever seen anybody do at the Mosconi Cup. It was disrespectful to his team who are actually out there playing a match. It's disrespectful to Jeremy, who's sitting beside him as a coach, and it's disrespectful to the Mosconi Cup as an event. If you look at the face Jeremy's got on him, he looks like he's about to explode. The guy is basically just announcing to the whole world that I've had enough and I just want to go fishing.
Well, you never really know what's going in his head when he's doing that. He might just be having fun with it. Like
very little's going through his head if he thinks that that's an acceptable thing to do.
Well, that's possible. But I mean, okay, so let me
just see that Raymond start to bubble just thinking about it.
Let me just address a few of the things that have happened in the comments. There's a few people saying you're crazy for thinking that Shane gave up. He's playing his heart out. If you think that Shane has not given up in a Mosconi Cup, you need to go to one and you need to look at the way that he handles himself at these events sometimes. I remember back when it was the JJ year, when the U.S. was still very much in it, and Shane is playing a doubles match with Tyler, and Tyler is sitting in his chair forward like this, staring at the table, ready for any opportunity that he can get to, and Shane is in the corner like this, scratching his head, staring at the ceiling, and he's not doing it for like 5 seconds at a time. He's doing it for like 30 seconds at a time, to the point where like Tyler has to actually like let him know that, hey, we're up, we got at the table. If you think that he hasn't given up, you clearly need to be in that room and see his facial expressions when things are not going well for the U.S.
A member of Team USA said to me, Shane is lucky that his telephone didn't end up getting thrown out the window, because the majority of his 4 days was spent like this. Not watching what was going on. Wasn't interested, just on his telephone. Now that's his own. Now whether or not this is just Shane and that's his way, but this is the impression that he gives to his teammates, and we see it as well from the audience. You know, the camera's not on him all the time when he's sitting there, but I pay attention to what's going on with the guys on the bench that are sitting there.
Sure.
And you see that he generally sits on his own. He's not really paying attention to what's going on. And whenever the players come down to give a little fist pump to the guy that's playing, it's more of an afterthought to Shane. Oh, the rest are going down. I'll get up, and then off he goes, kind of thing.
Using day four. Well, using day 4 as evidence because he beat Josh Filler in a race to 5 where he didn't miss a ball. Like, congratulations. He played well for 6 games. He's still one of the best players that has ever touched a pool cue. Yeah. Even if you're disengaged, he's one of the greatest ever. That doesn't mean that you can't play well even if you're disengaged. Like, I'm not saying that he was disengaged on day 4. Maybe he was engaged. Maybe JJ got in his ear and, he put them together. But he's one of the greatest players in the world. Just because you're disengaged, like, Ray, you're a phenomenal player. You're a 720 Fargo-ish. If you're disengaged, are you still going to play around, a pretty high level of pool?
No, I kind of want to say this about this stuff because I don't want to make it sound like we're just kind of coming down on Shane about stuff. But ultimately, for a team, right? Whatever behavior you see from your players is what is established and allowed to happen, right? So if you're in a team meeting and somebody's on their phone and nobody corrects that player, you're telling that player that it's okay to be on your phone and communicate to the team that you can give a crap, right? So ultimately, especially with players who are prone to disengagement, you have to be on their butt all the time. Notice when Jim said that, when Shane got corrected by JJ knocked on his door and said, hey, you have to be this way. The following day he was there. So I believe Shane is coachable, and I believe that he will answer the call if you get on him, but it's on you to set the standard. When you have a player that's triple talented, usually it's the most talented players or the most skilled players that are the ones that you have to kind of be on their butt a little bit to make sure that they're locked in. So it's Kobe is an exception, right? A guy like Kobe is an exception who is both the best player and the hardest working player. Like, that's very rare that you get that, right? And so when you do get that, it's awesome, right? Because you can start really doing wonderful things as a coach. But when you have a player that has part of that but it doesn't, maybe that comes from him not believing in his teammates, or, maybe he's got so much trauma from having gone to the Mosconi Cup that it hurts for him to get up and put himself on the altar. A lot of times they won't engage because it's a self-defense mechanism. Like, well, I didn't try my hardest, so therefore, it doesn't really count if I lose, that kind of thing. There's a lot of this stuff that goes into the psychology, like the psychology behind performance. It's up to you to figure that out. And if
I think Shane is able to, he's able to process failure if he's the only guy who's affected by it.
Yeah.
But when it is very difficult in a team atmosphere, if you feel the responsibility and you're out there knowing, if I don't perform well, there's other people that are going to be, and some people shy away from it. It's the fight or flight thing. And I think in a team atmosphere, that his natural reaction is to fly and say, I just don't put me in there. I don't want to be the guy that lets the team down. I don't want to, he's so used to winning things, and you've got other guys that turn around and say, I'll do it. Great, give it to me, and they're not scared of what might happen. They're not scared of future failure because it hasn't happened yet and it might not happen, Yeah. And
well,
Shane, I also don't want this to sound like we're putting everything on Shane, because the rest of the guys didn't perform to the level either.
No, not at all.
I think after day one, I think Tyler was the only one that was really performing at his level. I thought Shane Walford had some decent moments, but again, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes, and he got found out. Federer got found out as a rookie, in my opinion, as well. Didn't reach his level, but he'll be better next year and the year after. Jason took 3 or 4 years before he became the Mosconi monster that he is. Very, very few people come into it on day one and just go, yeah, I'm at home. This is great. It never happens really, other than the likes of Filler and stuff, Yeah. So it's not that we're bashing on Shane. It's just that Shane is an integral part of making. You can't put a guy like Federer into that team and then lose Shane, because it just, you don't gain
anything. You're not
out of it. You're just back to square one again.
Right.
So Shane has to get engaged.
Right.
Some way you have to get Shane in there engaged. And that Team USA against that Team Europe, everything has to work for Team USA. It all has to fit together. And if there's a piece missing, then it all falls apart. And it's as simple as that. They need everything to go their way. They need the majority of the roles. They need everyone to play at the best level they can play at. And they also need Team Europe just to not quite be there.
Speaking of roles, I mean, there were, I think, at least from my eye, I didn't go back and count the racks, but it felt like to me, because of the hand rack, there was a lot of volatility in like layouts after the break. A lot of things were kind of like inconsistent. And it so happened to lay in a position that was very beneficial to Europe early on. Towards the end of the cup, it kind of started tilting to more of an even bias, but there was a lot of like awkward positions for Team USA after the break, and a lot of inconsistency that I just don't think needs to be there. These guys play tournaments all year long with a template 9 on the spot format. It's an alternate break race to 5. There's enough volatility with the kiss and scratch and all this other stuff to add the hand rack. You know what it is to have to go up in a match for a point that you need and got to look at John Lehman racking the balls for you. I'm just like, it is like looking at the Grim Reaper, which is why guys.
When you already know the 9 is going to float down at the bottom rail.
Yeah, it's gross. And then, you're expecting the worst. You're hitting the break the way you've trained yourself to hit the break all year long and getting awkward lies. You might as well just smash the balls, because there's no point to the 9 on the spot break box anymore. If you don't put the template in, you've undone the reasons for having the break box and template to begin with. So if you're going to implement a standard to change the break and get it to a point where the player is going to train and optimize for that break, you cannot have a hand rack. It is egregious. It's not even egregious. It's intellectually unsound, to put it politely. The reason why they used to use the triangle rack was because you had the 1 on the spot, you could break from the rail and you could smash them and give them a go. Maybe you can tag the 1 on the side and defend yourself that way, but there was enough volatility that it made the 1 on the spot not so brain dead, right? But you've already taken care of that by moving the 9 to the spot, incorporating the break box, and putting the template down. Now you just let the balls land where they may, and you make the break an equitable thing to both sides. Now it's about skill. How good can you break? How consistently can you break? And can you deliver under pressure? And you don't have these like awkward layouts that can really swing a match. Like a guy like Skyler against Filler got no looks after the break, and Filler got control, got 2 good breaks, and all of a sudden he's down 4-0 and kicking 3 shots in a row. and you're dead. You don't ever get a look into a match. That's a race to 5. So you don't give a fair shake to both guys by doing that, because the balls might favor one just because that's how, it just happened to kiss that way. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think, for the sake of, equity and quality of match play, that triangle rack should ever be considered again for Mosconi Cup. I think it's dumb. It's low IQ nonsense. I just don't know where it comes from. And you've already taken care of the break variability stuff just by making it 9 on the spot break box. Put the template down, let them play normal pool the way they've done all year, and try and figure out and get layouts after the break. Otherwise, we're just, I don't know. I just don't know why some decisions get made. It's really silly to me.
Yeah, and if they don't like the fact that the referee then on television has to go and move the rack all the time, then, I mean, there's not that many matches getting played on the table. You could tap that table and it's not going to stretch. It's not going to pull out. It's going to be fine. It's going to last for 4 days quite easily. Tapping tables during a tournament where there's going to be 10 matches a day for 6 days getting played on it, that doesn't work. But a Mosconi Cup table, you can easily just tap that table and it will last for 4 days. So
and the template's not hard to remove. These referees travel.
They just don't like doing it on TV. They think it looks a bit cheap. Yeah, okay. But Matchroom is making the rules, and they're a production.
I understand. Every part of the production looks beautiful. Yeah. It looks beautiful. The presentation looks nice. Educate your audiences. Put together a template on there. They said it makes the most consistent 9-ball rack. It's whatever. It's an advent in technology. Simple. Sell it. And then like, oh, okay, cool. The racks are all consistent. We get good play. Instead, now we're looking at these weird mud racks with 6 balls on one side of the table, the 9's leaking out, going to the corner pot. Like, that's no good. Players don't want to see that. You know what I mean? And
okay,
you're on the wrong side of it. You're on the wrong side of it. 2 breaks in a row, and it so happens that you're playing against a great player, and they get a sweet rack and a golden break. Now you feel like like the gods are against you, and it's easy to get.
Okay, but man, Look, I agree in general. Yes, I would like to see there's a template right there. But for this Mosconi Cup, I mean, USA won the lag 12 out of the 14 times.
And it was to their disadvantage.
They got the most breaks. They had the advantage already.
Right, but it was
they just missed more balls.
There is no advantage. There is no advantage if you're getting shit racks and the balls are going in awkward positions. You're not getting a clear look at if you're getting inconsistent results on the break and on the rack. It doesn't matter if you have the break. Darren,
what you're saying implies that Europe got great racks every single time.
Your point's only valid if we're getting better racks.
Yeah, I'm saying for the first 2 days, it so happened that Europe got better racks in key moments that helped them get more points and get leads early on. That's just how it was. We were looking at awkward racks off our breaks. It's not because Tyler doesn't know how to break or Federer doesn't know how to break. It's just that's just what happens. And in short format, it's crippling. Darren here, he says they seriously didn't use the template. He says that amazes me. Nothing worse than a 9-ball floating to the short rail after the rack. It's silly. It's silly in this format to not use the template. It's just the players train for it all year long.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I see why Matchroom would do it, though. And Matchroom is always going to do what's best for the production, ultimately. So
I would argue it's not good for the production to use a triangle rack. That's my point. I don't think it's good for the production. It's not good for making it a more contested contest, for sure.
You don't necessarily have to be wrong. But regardless, Matchroom sees it that way, and I'm sure that they're not basing it off of nothing. I'm sure. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Raymond. I'm just saying that.
I thought Matchroom had finally, come to the conclusion that yes, we have to use a magic rack for everything. I was surprised when they started hand racking them. But yeah,
it's crazy. And with those players getting the template rack, you're more likely to see a golden break. They love the flashy golden break. They talk about it as like a feeding in the bottle thing. It's more repeatable.
There was 3 of them total, I think.
Maybe you get 7 or 8, you know what I mean, in key spots.
Yeah. So, well, I guess I don't have anything else I want to talk about as far as that, but I would like to have a discussion on the coaching. So I guess before we jump in, yes or no, Raymond, are you bringing JJ back? Yes or no?
No, absolutely.
Jim?
No.
I also say no. I say no, not because. See, it's a tricky one because nobody here is going to say anything bad about JJ as far as what he brings to the sport, what he brings to commentary, what he brings to Team USA. he does not have the ear of the players. The players don't respect him. Oh, well, I should say this: the players respect him, but they don't listen to him. Well, no, let me clarify. The moment that you walk up to him and say, "I don't want to play in this spot right here," is the moment that you no longer take his coaching and respect it the way that you have to. No, I don't think a single player would have walked up to Johan and said, "I don't want to play in this spot," right? Or I think that we should do this for a lineup. You have to have the players. You have to take the players' interest into heart, but the decision has to be yours. And I don't think that the decision has been Jeremy's. I think Jeremy is trying to now manage what the players are wanting to do, where the players have got to just do what JJ wants them to do. I just don't think because of JJ's playing career and what he's done in his career. Obviously, he was an incredible player. He's a U.S. Open champion. But I think the players look at him not as a coach. They look at him as a contemporary or as a coworker more than anything else. And I think that nobody looked at Johan that way. Everybody looked at Johan as their coach, as their leader. I just don't think JJ has the ability. So obviously we're going to take this, branch it off into, who can lead the Team USA going forward. I don't think we can pick somebody who was a contemporary of these players, who was a coworker, somebody who went to tournaments and played against them. I think we actually need to have a coach that was not a player, not one of these players' peers, but only, somebody who can get their ear and actually somebody like a Johan.
I've heard the rumor that Mike Siegel wants to do it for free.
Yeah, well, that's good. I just don't think that we can have an ex-player be the coach going forward. I just don't think that the players are going to listen to them the way the players need to listen to them to get that done.
I think this speaks to a broader culture change that needs to happen in the U.S. I've kind of mentioned it on previous podcasts, but that's a broader subject that needs to be addressed. And I think the United States as a whole needs to take accountability for how they go about preparing their players, because until they take accountability, then they're just entitled whiners when it comes to Mosconi Cup every year and us getting our nuts shot in. Until we start providing solutions and putting our money and our systems where we say it's important, right? Until we start actually showing evidence that we value professional pool, because there's no evidence to say that the United States as a whole values professional pool outside of its interest in the Mosconi Cup. There's systems in place here in the U.S. that disincentivize progress and disincentivize getting better as a player. The gap between 700 and 800 is the most expensive and the hardest to overcome, and the most difficult to get through, because they're dwindling opportunities for people to compete. So that's a cultural shift that we need to make and adjust for here in the U.S. We're responsible for that as Americans. I think there's solutions for that, to that end, that we could implement, and it requires some collaboration, it requires some effort. But if we really want to think about long-term being competitive on the international stage, we got to develop a culture that grooms and breeds excellence. Right now, we have a culture that breeds and grooms 650 and under players. So outside of that, in the short term, we need a coach who can get the job done. Obviously, Johan has shown recent interest in that, just out of his disgust for what's been going on with Team USA in this past Mosconi Cup. 11-3 is egregious for that lineup, for that quality of skill of player. So obviously he's a man that has done it before and has shown that he can get it done. He's got it done with lesser teams. And so, that's obviously somebody who has a vested interest in doing things that are necessary, not just what Matchroom is going to allow, quote unquote, or fund him to do. I think Johan made a great point the other day that he says, I don't really care what Matchroom says as far as like what they're going to give me. If they're only going to give me X, then I got to figure out the gap between X, Y, and Z to get me all the way there. Otherwise, it's not worth going there and getting embarrassed. Our job as fans and also as kind of leaders in our regional areas is to start collaborating and thinking about, who our players are that we want to develop. I would look at a program to develop like an Olympic style training program that looks at let's say our top 20 US players, our top 5 juniors, and gets them iterating and working together quarterly. at least quarterly, maybe bi-quarterly, training camps, little things like that, to start building this idea of camaraderie and competition. There needs to be increased opportunities for competition in the U.S., regionally and nationally. I think Matchroom is thinking about growing a number of opens here in the U.S. We need like 4 or 5 U.S. Open level tournaments
Big announcements for that coming soon.
Yeah, to really start seeing kind of more opportunities happen. And then there needs to be a regional program that starts feeding into those tournaments to really start opening the doors for guys that we don't get to see play. Like we don't get to see a BJ, or we don't get to see an Anthony McLino. We don't get to see, players in California, that we know are there. Like we know that they're super capable and skilled, but for financial reasons or because of disincentives, they don't get out and travel to go take a loss for like 3 or 4 years. So that's a problem we need to solve and come up with solutions for it. And then, we start building what we have. I think, Wolford had some bright spots. I want to talk about a little bit of the positives. He showed spots where he looked comfortable. He didn't look frazzled or shaken or broken by the Mosconi Cup environment, which I thought was very encouraging. He handled certain misses well, stayed positive, stayed engaged, delivered the cue, and, ultimately made a couple rookie mistakes. He's a rookie. That's totally expected from somebody in his position, Federer, I think you could tell by the Sky in Federer match, that doubles match, he was starting to get, more into it, and kind of the ball was starting to roll for him individually, which is good. And so I think he's going to be way more productive in the coming years. And then, Sky, Sky is very ignitable. He's like a switch that once that switch flips, he's big time in that environment. So I think obviously he's somebody that you can hang your hat on. Then the X factors become whoever else qualifies for the team, and then whether or not the captain can get Shane to lock in. Those are the things we're looking at as far as variables. And, in order for those things to yield a win, we need those things to align. And you need somebody, to your point, Nate, who can command the authority necessary to hold people accountable. For me, it's very simple. Leadership, good leadership equals accountability. You need to be able to hold your players accountable, and they need to know that it's not personal. It's not an attack on them. It doesn't diminish their value to the team. It's because you value them so much that you're willing to ruffle their feathers and get them to, hey, get back in line here, because we need the team to move in one direction. And until you have a captain at the helm who moves the ship in one direction and 5 sailors behind you who are pulling in that same direction, you're going to have fragmentation. And in the biggest pressure environments, you see it crumble no matter how high your Fargo is. I'd rather have, honestly, I've seen Masters teams who play in APA who have played better as a team and played higher quality pool than what we saw Team USA put out. And that's something to think about, so.
Well, and so I guess to expand upon my statement on why I wouldn't want a coach or a coach that used to be a high level players, who are you going to get that's better and more qualified than JJ? I mean, I've seen Tony Robles' name thrown out quite a bit. Mike Siegel likes to throw his own name out. Earl Strickland, stuff like that. What did those? I mean, short of Earl Strickland, because I mean he actually has a pedigree, but who actually wants Earl Strickland as a captain? I mean that just seems like suicide to me. Like Tony Robles, for example, I love the guy. He's one of the nicest guys you're ever going to find in the entire industry, nonetheless the entire world. The guy is an absolute class act. But what does he bring that JJ doesn't? I mean, does he bring anything new? I mean, he was a player, a very high level player that doesn't play anymore. That's kind of just been living his life. And before all of this, that's kind of what JJ was. And then he's
again, it doesn't matter what you've done previously on the table, and I don't think it really matters.
Well, it does. It does if the players aren't going to listen to you.
No, but that's attitude. That's not about whether or not you were a top class player before. It's attitude, and your ability as a leader is dictated by the people that you're trying to lead. Simple as that. You've got to get them on board. Now, you're comparing Tony Robles. I'm not saying it should be Tony Robles, but you're comparing Tony Robles with JJ based on them being pool players. It's not necessarily.
Well,
it's not necessarily.
I'm asking the question, right? I'm asking the question. What does Tony bring?
If you could pay him enough, let Joe Rogan try it. He won't take any bullshit. He'll tell people where they need to, what they need to do, and he's going to be quite intimidating in the practice room and when he's having these conversations and stuff like that. Maybe it's somebody like that you need. Maybe it's somebody who's a bit of a hard ass that's just going to turn around and say, "I don't need your input for who's playing where and what kind of roster I'm making. I'm not here for your input. I'm going to get you ready to play, and I'm going to decide where and how you're all going to play."
For Team USA,
my question wasn't rhetorical. I mean that. That's a real question. What does Tony Robles bring that, or any other coaches being thrown around right now?
What does Ralph Eckert bring? We still don't know because he didn't have to do
know. That's the thing.
He didn't have to do anything.
Maybe we'll find out that Ralph Eckert is the worst coach in Mosconi Cup history. We don't know. But until the U.S. can put enough pressure on Europe to actually need a coach, we're not going to find out what he can do.
Jim, could you ask Ralph if I could borrow $100, please? I think you're closer to him. Nate, I think for Team USA, it all starts and ends with Shane. It starts and ends with
somebody
Shane.
Who can get control of him, and that's why I don't think that a player coach can be the coach, because Shane is not going to respect a player.
Yeah,
because there'll be nothing like he was.
The only person.
So what do they have to say to him?
The only person that I've seen to get full commitment from Shane has been Johan. And it's because Johan is credentialed and has been to the mountaintop and knows how to get there. And he he found a way to speak to Shane to get him to lock in, and we won 2 cups back to back. You remove Johan from the situation, and Jeremy's an incredible player. He's a very smart player. He's a very intelligible, tactically sound, like all these things, but he was not able to speak to the individual inside between Shane's ears to get him to lock in. So the X factor in Team USA's chemistry issue is who can get Shane to lock in. Johan is the only man to date that has done it. Outside of Johan, we have not seen Shane lock in.
Let's not forget that I think the chances of Matchroom and Johan working together again are as zero as they could ever be.
I totally get that.
How about just as a name, just
it might be Mike DeShane
from way out left field, and he's on the chat. Darren Appleton. Shane will listen to Darren. I think out of all the players that Shane's ever played against in his entire career, especially Mosconi, Darren's the one guy that he's got the utmost respect for.
The only problem is Darren is a God-fearing Englishman, and he.
Hey, but Darren will do anything for 20 grand.
Yeah,
I know that.
And 20 grand will get invented. But I mean, again, I don't know. Something. I started the whole podcast with that. I think that the key to the USA success is Shane. That is the key to getting that team working. Is getting Shane involved. So yes,
maybe we can pull somebody in from a different industry.
It'll have to be somebody who feels like they can get the best out of Shane, because that's going to be top of the priority, or it would be top of my priority list in any case.
I'm being abused right now.
I'm back up. I'm back up to 90% tilted. Thank you.
How do we get that last 10% out of you?
Christ.
I'm being completely assaulted right now. This is not.
But it is. I mean, how Shane, he's in the team every year, and he will be for the foreseeable future until he decides himself not to be in the team. So you got to get him. You got to get Shane playing Shane Poole at the Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, there we go. How about my cat for captain?
But I like this 5. If let's say this 5 goes out next year, I think they play a lot better. I think Federer's had his first go. I think Federer plays better. He's used to his equipment. I think, like you said, I think Shane Walford, he didn't look like a deer in headlights. The mistakes he made are mistakes you would expect to make. I spoke to him after, and he said he got caught out a couple of times by the table. He played a couple of shots wrong. They were wrong for that particular table, because it does play different from any other table. He said he learned a lot out there. It was a sharp learning curve. Yeah. I think he'd be better prepared for next year. I think he's got the nuptials. He's got the bollocks for playing on that table. I think Tyler's cementing himself as a solid Mosconi Cup player. I think he's good within the team. I think he does the right things. He's one of the guys that he stays positive. He tries to stay positive. And Skylar, Skylar. I would just like to see Skylar work a little bit harder. I don't think he does enough off the table. You know, he's a tournament to tournament player, and I don't think a lot happens in between. But some players don't need to, you know. But I think, you know, if Sky plays the way that we've seen Sky, if he plays like that every single year, they've always got a chance, you know. Yeah. He just does. He has these years where it just doesn't happen for him.
But that's also Sky. I mean, that's what I mean. Part of that, I think, is what makes Sky as special as he is.
But I really thought this year we were starting to see more consistency with Sky. You know, with his results, with his finishes in tournaments. I thought he's finally finding some consistency. Maybe he is backstage. Maybe he is really putting a little bit more work in. Maybe he's realized himself that, you know, I need to be doing this every tournament, not just having a, you know, 1 out of 5 where I blossom and everyone sees how great I am. I need to get. So I was expecting to see him really, really, really step up this year, and especially with the inclusion of Federer, and that the team should get a lift there. There should be more of a. They should really believe that they could win instead of just saying they believe they can win, which it felt like in other years. It just didn't happen, and it was a massive shame because it was the interest levels were pretty low after day 2.
I got to get rid of some bots, I guess.
But it is what it is, and these things can happen at 9-ball in a Mosconi Cup. We've seen it before, you know. So on to next year. Lessons to be learned. It won't be the same European team next year, I wouldn't imagine. I don't think they'll get 3 in a row.
Well, that'd be gross. That'd be gross.
Don't worry, I got rid of Clementina.
It's going to be the same coach, isn't it? I mean, he just sat drinking coffee for 4 days and got paid 40 grand. So why wouldn't he do it again?
I don't know. Do you think he shot himself in the foot by saying what he did?
I said to somebody that Eckert looked like he was just warming up his tea, and the crumpets were just about to come out of the oven. He was having a great time, so I was happy.
He was just loving it. He's just sitting there watching these guys doing what they do, and Jason was the leader of that team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is what you do as a coach. If you come in there and there's already if there's already a natural established leader, which Jason is now,
hierarchy.
In an absolute perfect world, we would have that too with Shane, right? I mean, Shane doesn't have the personality for it. Jason does, and it's no knock against Shane. I mean, you have the personality that you have. I mean, you can't fake be a leader. That just doesn't work.
I would say you don't need Shane to do that. You just need a Shane to lock in and show up. And what you do need is somebody else to do that. And
your leader doesn't have to be your best player.
Yeah, this doesn't have to.
Well, we know that Sky doesn't have that. Sky doesn't have that either. He doesn't have that leadership characteristic to him. Shane obviously doesn't have it. I mean, Tyler's the one that has it, and he's actually quite good at keeping players engaged. I mean, we've seen it in the past, and I've heard plenty of stories that I can't share on here, where he's actually working behind the scenes as hard as he possibly can to keep players engaged. And because, I mean, Tyler's one of those players. I mean, whether he's down 10-0 in a race to 11 or he's up 10-0 in a race to 11, he has that same fire in him.
And unfortunately, they kind of miss that Billy Thorpe kind of attitude in the team, you know?
Yeah,
loud and obnoxious, and come on, and getting everybody bouncing and getting everybody engaged, kind of thing. And then you feel like a bit of an idiot if you're not jumping around with him because everybody else is, and then so it gets everybody going, you know.
I think Tyler also has the best jawline of anybody in Team USA, and that's important to note.
Okay. Well, Federer's is all covered in chalk, so you can't really tell.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, I agree exactly with what Hillbilly Island Life is saying. I mean, I love JJ as a coach, and I just wish he hadn't lost the ear of the players. But I think that's unfortunately that's what I see is what happened. It's not necessarily, you know, there's a lot of great coaches that lose their job not because you know they can't coach. It's because the players just stop listening, and that happens a lot with you know.
And you've got it in all sorts of sports. The greatest coaches in the world have gone to teams where it hasn't worked out with them.
Sure.
You know, there's no coach that has a success at every single team they've been at. You know, and maybe JJ possibly with other teams and with other, he'd be very, very, very successful.
Well, I guarantee. I bet he would be great on Europe.
And I mean, I love JJ. I think he's fantastic. I love his commentary. I think he's very fucking knowledgeable, and I love listening to him when he's talking about pool. But there have been errors made, rostering errors in previous years and again this year, and you can't be doing that when you need everything to be perfect. You know, so it's maybe he gets another go at it. You don't know.
To my estimation, I think the only guy in the U.S. that right now Matchroom has on their radar to be the captain
Scott Frost
is Scott Frost. I said this about a month or so ago. To me, it makes the most sense.
What does he offer that JJ doesn't?
Based on what
we don't know because you've never seen him coach a team before.
Yeah.
Well, what can he bring?
Well, we've already said what he needs to bring. Whether or not he's capable of doing it or not, we don't know.
I know.
Well,
Scott.
Why would he be? That's my point. Is why would he be? What does Scott have?
Done it before.
I know Scott has been in the ear of Shane in crucial matches. Like I know Scott was integral to Shane winning that match against Cheng Jung Lin. They played that long 10-ball gauntlet marathon, and Scott kind of pumped him up and got him locked in to finish the match, and he ended up coming out ahead. And I know Scott's been really in the grease and has a lot of respect from a tactical side. He's also very good in the comms. He's worked already with Matchroom. To me, it makes like a very obvious choice for somebody who has the respect of the players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it really matters who else is on the team. It's about who can get to Shane and get him to commit and lock in. That's priority one for any captain who comes on board. Johan has proven that he can do it. I would assume that if anybody could do that, it would be Scott. But Scott needs to have a serious come to Jesus moment with Shane from the very beginning. If he's even hinted at becoming captain, he needs to go fishing with Shane, meet him where he likes to be met, do his thing, but express to him how integral he is. And without him locked in, it's a non-starter, So I think those boundaries need to be established and accountability needs to be established. Scott is no longer really competing as much at a super high level. He is back playing a bit. But I think from the American side, he's the only person that makes sense based on his relationship with Shane. Now, if Shane is not on the team, then somebody like JJ, I think, would thrive, assuming that, Shane's not on the team. Because I think the other players are more prone to wanting to buy in to the mission of each other because they want to go win. And at that point, the coach becomes less critical for them. But while Shane is the linchpin for the team and while he remains active and he wants to get to, like, let's say 20 seasons playing, you got to find somebody who can get in here and get him to lock in for something other than himself. It's got to be for the team.
I agree with Hillbilly Island Life. I just don't see how it's really hard to have with a close friend, which is obviously what Shane and Scott are. I just don't see how you can have that dynamic of, because if you're coach, there has to be a hierarchy. There just has to be one there.
Yeah.
Does Scott have the cojones to go to him and say, hey, this is how it's going to be? I know it's not our normal friendship kind of hierarchy, but this is the way it's got to be. You need to listen to me and we need to go forward with that hierarchy and that dynamic. And you need to buy in. Do you think that he can do that? I mean,
it depends how you approach it. If you know somebody so well, then you know how to tactically approach it so it just happens naturally and you don't have to word it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what buttons to push. You have to know your players and know what buttons really push them.
You know what needs to happen. You know what the outcome needs to be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that say you have to approach it like a bull in a china shop and start going, you have to do this, you blah blah blah. No, you massage the idea into the person until it almost becomes their idea.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's ways to
like a lot.
Yeah. Well, you need a lot.
That's why you need to work at an early stage. You can't be doing it a week before the tournament.
That's why Johan got it done, because he would spend an individual week with each player and then travel with the team together to get them in a position and really get to figure out where they're at, their sensitivities, their mind, their heart, where they're at, and figure out what strings to pull to get them to operate on the week that it matters most. That's really what
we're finding out is, Jim, your personality is absolutely unique. Your ability to just be the inferior Robin in our relationship is just so special. I'm just kidding.
The inferior Robin. No. Wait. You're the incompetent Batman.
I'm the incompetent Batman, but you are the inferior, superior Robin.
He's at least Nightwing. Yeah. Well, I've walked off of 3 bridges this week, and I'm starting to GPS my way to another one at this point from this conversation.
I think, yeah, I just don't see any coaches that are available to the U.S. right now. Scott Frost, I mean, you guys were kind of talking me into him, with the understanding that he's going to be able to have this conversation. I just don't know anybody who's ever had this conversation with somebody who's a close friend and it went well and it worked. I just don't see that
Look,
ever happening. I'm
eventually,
happy if it does.
like eventually on any team, like there was a great clip, I think, from either last season or the season before. The Miami Heat are in a bit of a losing streak, and there's almost a brawl that happens on the sidelines where Jimmy Butler and the coach Eric Spoelstra get at it, and they basically almost come to physical blows, right? And Dwayne Wade made commentary on this, and he's like, "Oh, they're getting ready to win. Like they're getting ready to they're buying in now, because now they're expressing that it means enough to both of them to get to the point where they're engaged enough to be emotional about it, right? Once you have that emotional engagement, now okay, we can at least anchor to something, even if we disagree on something. We know that we're both vested now. Being disengaged and just like apathetic is that's the worst. That's like team cancer. It really is. So you got to get to a point where you're engaged and locked in, and whatever button you have to push, whatever the secret recipe is, it might change year to year with different players. Your job is to figure out what that button is and push that button for each player and get them pulling in the same direction. That's the only way you win.
That's a lot of work for $20,000.
And if Scott and Shane are such good friends, if Shane won't do it for his team, maybe he'll do it for his friend.
Yeah, who knows? You have to figure out what the psychology is of the individual. We can only assume imposture.
And Scott will know better than us how to approach it if he's such good friends with Shane.
Certainly, yeah.
And but yeah, it's a short list. It's a very, very short list, I think, of followers for JJ. But yeah,
whoever it is, even if it is Scott Frost, I would like to see him come in as a coach, not on the technical side of things, because if JJ does coach a little bit on the technical side of things, I would like to see our coach stick strictly to the mental side of it, the team dynamic part of it, and then the strategy part of it. Yeah. I think given Shane, and you can see the players that do this when the team event is going on, the initial match, if there's any single question, the player is calling it out, and Shane is coming over to look at it. And if there's if they don't do it and Shane sees something, he didn't ask for somebody to come up. He just went straight up to the shot. You saw that it happened a few times in the initial team event. Scott Nobody needs help with the technical side of things. Shane is the smartest guy out on both sides. Shane is probably the smartest pool player in the world when it comes to everything that there is to know about the game. We don't need help there.
Yeah, Scott during the comms was post-match interview stuff, was hinting at a lot of these things that he would have done differently, that I kind of align with what I was talking about earlier. He said he wouldn't have led with Shane. Probably he would have put him in like a cleanup spot, like a third or fourth spot in the teams, let Skylar and Feder get in there and let Tyler get in there, and then maybe bring in Shane and then Wolford to protect your rookie, and not put the feeling even subconsciously on Shane that he's got to carry the whole team, that he doesn't like that. It's not something that he's predisposed to, whereas Skylar loves it, and he kind of thrives in those environments, and when it can be a positive tone setter, he would have kind of gone that way. So I think that was interesting to hear Scott say that even from an observational, role, seeing what's happening, he's kind of cluing into some of these deeper dynamics. So to me, that's encouraging when I consider somebody like Scott, because of, you want somebody who, can see the moves. He's a great mover in one pocket, and strategically, that's how he thinks. Darren had made a comment too about him potentially bringing in a second with him, like a Billy and Cardona, who he has a great relationship with, and has kind of this like kind of old timer respect from a lot of the players. And like, it's cool to have a legend in there with you. And, just to see things from a different perspective. A lot of times you can get kind of in the the focus tunnel of looking at something for so long, you forget the bigger picture. So having an assistant there, somebody who's kind of like overviewing and say, hey, you might have missed this over here, that just making off suggestions can a lot of times be very valuable. So, yeah.
I don't know, rough stuff.
Yeah.
And I stand behind my statement. I think Shane knows more about the game than anybody else in the world when you take into account everything. I mean, what's the story? When Albin and I think it was Albin and was it Darren and Mika or whatever it was? It was the what is it? There was a challenge between Europe and or the East versus West, where they had some Asian players play against the U.S. players, and Shane was teaching all the European players what to do on the break, and all the players are just sitting back like, holy crap, like I didn't know any of these things, and Shane is just like throwing it out like it's just common knowledge.
I'll also say one thing too about this whole approaching strategy for the Mosconi Cup. You know, if you're a history student, if you're a student of history and you've watched previous Mosconi Cups, you know, you have answers. You have open book tests, basically. You can look back at the notes and see what works and what doesn't work and why. And a lot of times, you know, if we don't pay attention to those things, we're just going to keep making the same mistakes. And so to me, it's like some of these things are just out to lunch with some of the decisions that are made, because we basically have the answers to the test. It's been done several times. You can just go back and see what works and what doesn't work. And you know, to me, that's part of the thing that bothered me about the lineups, especially early on. It just really rattled my brain. We only had Shane play, you know, one singles match. It's crazy to me. Despite all the other stuff, I think we talked about the reasons and why. So if you guys want to go back and watch, you can. But yeah, I think the players will take this back home and you know, get over it, you know, refresh, get through the holidays and start back to work on their own stuff individually. I know Shane's already fishing. He's caught some great Lakers. And he's out there doing what he loves to do, which is great. I know he was looking forward to that. I would like to put him in a position next year to do that, holding an extra 20,000 and bringing home the cup back to the USA. So I think from now to then, we have questions to answer and problems to solve. And I think we need to get after it and not wait for somebody to save us. I think America, USA has to take accountability for some of these gaps and start filling the holes. So
I think what Matchroom needs to do is ASAP appoint the coaches for next year.
Yeah.
If it is to be a new American coach, then it gives them an entire year to start building a plan and talking to certain players who you would expect will be on the team. Again, as much information as it possibly can about what happened this year and in previous years, and starting to build a plan and starting to get in the heads of these guys and already, you know, preparing for Mosconi. It shouldn't be an afterthought. It's an end of the season thing, and I'll only worry about it in December.
No.
The coach should be named by the end of December, even if it's JJ again.
There's at least 3 guys there that should be already.
Team Europe has that luxury, right? Because again, they've built the infrastructure and the machinery, so they maybe have more leniency. But as far as Team USA is concerned, it's absolutely unacceptable. You know, they can't expect to really start building the momentum and the what they need from a training perspective.
They cannot go and announce the coaches again in October next year. That's not going to help.
No
good.
No, not unless they tell the coaches that they're already there beforehand. Like if they want to announce it in October, but let the actual players themselves know it in December. I mean, it's hard to kind of keep that under wraps at that point in time, whoever, especially if they're switching it up, they need to make that decision by the end of December. If they're gonna have a JJ again and they're just gonna tell JJ, all right, you're the coach again, we're not gonna announce it until October like we did last time, but just know going forward you're the coach. Yeah. I got no problem with that. Same with Europe's coach, but Ralph. But
well, I think
somebody new.
I can't imagine Ralph won't be the coach again. I mean, they won 11-3. It was his first year. He'll get a second year.
I mean, the only
had in a long time too.
Sorry?
Ralph Eckert is probably the best dressed coach they've had in a long time as well. Wait
till we see how good I'd have been dressed if they picked me.
Yeah, I think Jimbo. I think you and I think I should be
captain. My Christmas suit on and everything.
I'm captain. You're vice captain, Jimbo. Let's go.
Jesus Christ. I mean, sorry, Lord. I apologize for taking the Lord's name in vain. Sorry.
All right.
All right, guys.
I'll tell you what. I think we'd get our lineups better.
Yeah, I think yes, I think you're right.
I'll tell you what. Shane and Sky would be out on day 1 or the first match on day 2.
No, just look at the Mosconi Cup when they won it. You know, they put out Shane. They put on the 2018. I think Shane and Sky went out in the first one. They put Tyler, who was a rookie, out as the singles, and then they put the other two guys out as the other doubles. Like Raymond said, there is a formula there that's worked. Why not just copy paste what's already been done?
The answer to the test for you. What are we doing?
Works again.
You're just trying to like wake me up again, Jim. You're just pissing me off.
Where's the nearest bridge? Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Ray. Come on.
Come on, Ray. You go, Ray.
We're reeling you in. We're reeling you in.
Man.
So mad. I literally have never gone to the pool room just to curse before, ever. Like, just to do that, just to like vent to other people who understand, because it was either that or my downstairs neighbor was going to call security, give me a noise complaint or something.
Right. We've upset Raymond enough. He has to go and have some alcohol now.
Brutal.
Yeah, I think maybe maybe we meet up again later on this week, or maybe early next week, and talk about the Mosconi Cup going forward and
Nate,
what we would do.
Nate,
I think that might be fun.
Send me some spotted cow. Oh, yeah.
You're gonna need some. I'll tell you what, it's pretty good beer, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oh, wait a minute. I finally, wait a minute. I'm going to send this through to you, Nate. Maybe you can put it up on the screen. I actually managed to get on TV at one stage. Wait a minute. I'll send it to the podcast one. There you go. I'm in that photo somewhere. Guess where?
No. You're gonna really piss off Ray.
Yeah, stick it up. If people can guess where I am on this photo, then they can win a prize.
Ray, is this gonna set you off? I have your mental health in mind here.
Oh, you're fine. I'm good. I got my workout in for the day. I'm grounded. I'm gonna go meditate after this. What does it say? I can't tell.
Pumped.
Pumped.
I love the one that said Jason Shaw Pease sitting down. I thought that was great. I thought that was
a few good ones go right.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's really good. Oh gosh.
Right, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we close out, I got to thank all of our sponsors because they're awesome. We'll start with the Patreon. So thank you to Dave Wiersma, Mo Bashir, Cody Wettig, Ed Ladawi, Matt Poland. Thank you all for your support going forward and all of your support in the past. We will also give a shout out to Jacoby Custom Cues, who puts the biggest backing of this podcast out there. So here, watch this. That is the Jacoby Blackout break cue, which I also break with. Great cue.
And for those of you in London, pool players in London, there's a whole load of Jacobys at Spots and Stripes, right?
Yeah. Yep. They have a big package of Jacobys that were delivered to Spots and Stripes. So you can get a hold of Nigel Smith or Spots and Stripes over there. I believe they were just highlighted on Carl's latest YouTube video. So you could probably head over there and check the place out on his YouTube channel. Give a shout out to Carl. And yeah, there's a bunch there. So you can head over there and check out what they got if you want. Also, we'll give a shout out to Insight Performance Coaching, Billiards Digest, Salado Pool, Digital Pool, Onboard Sportswear, and Horo Tips, and Magic Mind, which I was hoping to have here by the time I got back, but I still have not gotten it yet. So I'll have to check the tracking on that package. But Magic Mind. I'm hoping to be smarter next time you see me. Once I get some Magic Mind in me, I'm sure you would too if you got it. Just check it out. Other than that, let's close it up for this week. And Ray, Jim, thanks for joining me. Everybody, thanks for joining the show. We'll see you next week.